I just learned that the summer is peak divorce season, but there's also a season of life that some argue is peak for when women choose to initiate divorce from their husbands, which is perimenopause and menopause itself. And they've come up with a term for it, menodivorce. It's a really clumsy construction for that term. They need to workshop that a little longer.
Yeah, a little bit.
And, you know, to be fair, they only listed one example of a woman who credits menopause for what convinced her to initiate a divorce. She just did an interview with USA Today about it, and she, I believe, came up with the term menodivorce. Why women aren't sweating marriage in a sea of hot flashes. Do I want a divorce, or is this menopause? It's a question resonating with women in midlife when hormones are changing, kids moving out, parents moving in, and careers are often at their peak. While divorce rates overall are dropping, that is true, it's a 50-year low.
That is a
divorce among adults
red flag, or a green
aged
flag.
50 and older is still on the rise.
It's gonna sound mean. It's the boomers.
It is
They're
the boomers.
so selfish.
It is the boomers. It's a boomer problem. For some women, getting help for their menopause symptoms improves their relationships. Others say it gives them the clarity to leave. You know, you just haven't self-actualized yet after 50 years on the planet. You need to find yourself.
It wasn't
You have
a
to go
midlife
discover
crisis.
who you are.
It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was an awakening.
Getting help for symptoms involving your partner in understanding menopause and talking with friends can help women thrive during menopause, but I don't think they mentioned divorce can help.
Yeah.
Yeah. This woman is named Melissa McClure, and she told her husband, "It's not a midlife crisis. I'm wide awake to the possibility of what my life can be, and it doesn't include you."
That's exactly how I read it to Mary when I was telling her this story earlier.
That's such an underhanded way to say that.
Yep.
She says she wasn't sleeping well. She had hot flashes. Her husband's loud chewing sent her into a rage. His negative attitude bothered her. Oh, he's the one with the negative attitude. Oh, okay.
And his loud chewing means that you have to break the bond that you swore would be until the day you die.
And she said she no longer felt appreciated as a wife and stepmother. So I guess he was going into the marriage with a previous marriage under his belt and kids from that marriage.
He's gotta wake up every day and write out a huge banner that says thank you.
They had been together for 14 years, but perimenopause made her realize she wanted a divorce. We spend our adult lives taking care of our husbands or partners and children. We give so much of ourselves to other people as nurturers that we lose ourselves in the process.
She probably uses the term emotional labor.
Of course.
And it's self-inflicted.
Yeah.
And the reason why a lot of women in midlife struggle with these feelings, or specifically empty nest syndrome, is because they inflicted this suffering on themselves. They weren't pouring into their own cup. They were too focused on pouring into everyone else's cup, filling everyone else's cup. And then your kids have their own lives. And they never really even needed you to be hovering over them in the first place, but you have this empty space.
Yeah.
And you don't know what to do with yourself. You haven't been developing yourself. You haven't had your own interests. You haven't been working on your marriage because you think it's valorant to focus on your kids, even to their detriment. And they can say, you know, maybe we'll just stay together for the kids and then divorce once they leave, once they go to college, once they themselves move out, get married, move on with their lives. It's still proven to be incredibly damaging if parents divorce for when the children are adults. It's worse when they're younger, obviously, but it doesn't mean that they're just going to be fine with their parents getting split up later in life.
It's so weird too, because I think back to like Blink-182 and Stay Together for the Kids and all the movies and TV shows that were made in the late 90s and the early 2000s. It really did make the huge discussion about like, you know, the banality of middle class life in the suburbs, which nowadays every Gen Z kid's like, can I have that, please? Can I have a 401k and a 40-hour-a-week job that I can stay at for 22 years exactly and then retire with a wife and kids? And it was treated as if it was like this big sense of baggage. Like, oh my gosh, I've got a husband and kids. I've got a wife and kids. My life has no meaning. And it really was, I think, in a lot of ways, that first cultural push towards finding something more. You got married young. You have to find yourself once once the kids are getting older and stuff like that. And it didn't tell you that what you had was enough. It didn't tell you that what you'd created with this middle-class life with the family was beautiful. All it talked about was the emptiness of self, right? And it goes, and that really was still, like, even though the artists who were making that stuff at that time would have been, I guess, Gen X, right? They would have been Gen X. They wouldn't have been boomers, but they would have been Gen X artists going into the millennial viewers, I guess. Like, we're still feeling the effects of that today.
Yeah. And it's not just...
These ideas don't make it into her head without culture and movies and television, and that which led way to influencers and people who took stuff from that. We're going to feel this effects for the next 100 years.
Correct. I saw Matt Walsh recently talking about TikTok from a woman who I believe was in her 30s, talking about how she wanted to get a divorce, not because there was any problem with her husband. She says he's the best. He is the best possible spouse I could ask for. He treats me so well. He's such a good father, etc. There's nothing wrong with him. I just feel like something is missing in myself.
What does that even mean?
It's not you, it's me. And it's not just media consumption that has done this to people. I think these days young women have a particular vice for comparison, for narcissism. That usually is paired with social media.
The grass is
exacerbated by social media. But
men and women both have that problem with, as like, they think that maybe just one more, like, keep dating one more.
Sure.
I could do just a little bit better. The grass is always a little bit greener.
I have found that I meet plenty of older women who suffer from a different vice, another self-inflicted vice, which is, it's hard to explain exactly because I don't have experience with this aside from observing it, but they basically pour all of their attention, all of their focus and energy into helping their kids or grandkids, when in reality they're just being a net drain on everyone around them. And it's because they believe that's a version of like self-giving, when in reality they're doing it to overcompensate for they're doing it because they think like suffering for no reason is noble, basically. And they're actually not helping anybody by doing that. They're becoming a more nightmarish person to be around by doing that, and hence the phenomenon of empty nest syndrome. If you haven't been developing yourself, cultivating your own hobbies or interests, or working on your marriage for like 20 years, and then your kids move out of the house, you don't know what to do, and you end up having a sort of version of a midlife crisis that doesn't involve, buying a sports car. And it might lead to divorce because, if you haven't been tending to that area of your life, in an attempt to feel like you're doing the selfless thing, then it's gonna come back to bite you. Like, they think it's selfless to focus on the kids and focus on the grandkids and focus on everyone else but their spouse for decades.
Is this where that debate comes from, where they talk about, like, who do you put first, your parents, your husband, or your spouse, or your kids? And then people ask you, like,
it's a huge debate.
Which comes first? And
it should always be God first, and then spouse, and then kids, and then everyone else comes after that. It goes in, then, the rest of your family, your extended family, then friends, then your larger community, then your city, state, country, then the world. Those are the concentric circles of love that J.D. Vance, of all people, was trying to explain. And it is something that needs to be understood better, because I have noticed that, like, a lot of women get a sense of self-satisfaction out of focusing on everyone but themselves and their marriages, which is supposed to be the nucleus of the family. So
the doctor also says, I hear it from patients every week. They might still love their husbands or partners, but they also hate them and no longer can put up with the things they've been putting up with.
You know why they resent their husbands? Because usually husbands, fathers, don't have the same struggle with this vice. They actually make more of an effort to have a life outside of just their family and just their marriage. They have their own hobbies. They usually have more developed careers than their wives. They have their own stuff going on. They have an identity. And a lot of these women don't have an identity outside of their kids, weirdly. I don't know about this woman in particular, if she has her own kids. She says she's a stepmother. But yeah, it's like a weird messiah complex. Like they get a sense of satisfaction with themselves out of feeling like they're giving up so much for everyone. When in reality, nobody asked you to do that, and nobody even wants or needs you to do that.
Well, in the converse to that is like, it's that, and then it's I'm choosing me. I'm finally going to put myself first, when really you could have just balanced your time better amongst all of it and then not had to drastically change and go the opposite direction.
But then they'll be like, oh, but my husband doesn't let me do this or let me do that. Have you ever like asked this guy that you have lived with for decades to watch the kids sometime? Like, have you never thought to ask for a favor? Like, I don't know. They resent even the idea that you have to negotiate that type of time, you know? But like, if you have a good spouse, if you have a good husband, obviously he's going to care about you and care that you get time to do your own thing. If you have a group of friends that you want to spend time with, if you have a volunteer opportunity that you want to spend time with, whatever, it doesn't even matter what it is. But yeah, they would rather resent their husbands for having more self-determination than assert their own self-determination. Like, it's really hard to explain it because I'm not talking from firsthand experience, but I have met so many women in or around midlife age who are just so frenetic, exhausted, neurotic, and truly a husk of their former selves. And it's because they've chosen to live that way.
You know what's going to save them? Pickleball. Husband and wife together, pickleball.
Doesn't even matter what it is. Like, pick anything other than whatever the hell this is. You wouldn't need to escape your marriage to be yourself if you just chose to not suffer for no reason while married. It's such a self-inflicted problem. Like, I meet these women in that age range who are walking around in a fugue state. Like, they have, like, memory loss or something. And you don't have to live like this. I don't know if anyone in the chat is, like, picking up what I'm throwing down right now. But if you have met the women I'm talking about, you know exactly what I mean. I didn't even know this rant was, like, in me. Yeah. But, like, I feel strongly about this. And I don't want to end up like one of these women. So, you know, a lot of women have this feeling like they don't want to assert themselves or something. They don't want to talk to their husbands about things because they're so conflict averse. But they're assuming that it's a conflict in the first place, and it doesn't have to be a conflict at all. It's just a conversation. That's actually, I think there was something that I discussed with Tammy Peterson when I was hanging out with her. She was talking about how, you know, earlier on in her marriage, she didn't feel like bringing things up and she didn't want to cause a stir or whatever. But she realized that was stupid, and you just sometimes need to ask for what you need. It's not that complicated.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.